Fuck it. Hey mama, if you are a mom and are tired of the wash, rinse, repeat burnout cycle of motherhood, this podcast is for you. If you feel lonely and isolated in your motherhood journey, this podcast is for you. If you feel like you have completely lost your identity since your babies were born, this podcast is for you. If you feel like every other mom has it together except for you, this podcast is for you. My name is Amanda, and I'm a life coach dedicated to teaching every mom the tools she needs to liberate herself off the back burner. I am living proof that a woman can be present and loving to her kids while also being a whole-ass person outside of being that kid's mom. The secret? Learning when to say fuck it. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to another episode of Fuck It Mothering. I have another wonderful guest for you this week. And I'm super excited for you to listen to this conversation. And I know I say that for every conversation, but I am always very excited to share these stories with you. It's an honor for me to be able to hold space for all of these stories. And my intention with the Fuck It Mothering podcast is that eventually I will have accumulated and collected enough stories from enough women that any woman can come and find my podcast from any walk of life and see herself reflected in some of the stories that are here. And so I'm really excited to share this one with you. It is a really powerhouse of a story. I'm not going to give you any spoilers because I just want you to experience it in real time. As far as me and my personal life, I'm doing pretty well. I got back last week from God, how long was I gone? Like 12-day road trip with my kids. We went from Wisconsin, where we live, to South Carolina for nationals. And if you're not a dance mom, nationals is just a week-long competition. That's all it is. It's a big deal for the dancers. And it's a lot. It's a lot as a mom. But we made it through. The kids did awesome. I'm so proud of all my kids. We were able to squeeze in a beach day, which was exciting. So like I was planning on being able to drive. We did the drive 22 hours one way, and then it didn't take us that long going back. I forget how long, but I was like planning to do the 20-ish hours, ended up being 22 in 2 days. But as we got closer and closer to our leave date, our departure date, I was getting more and more nervous about my decision to drive that many miles by myself with my children. And so I was like, oh God, what if I can't drive that much in 2 days? And then we're like running a day behind. And so I decided to leave a day early. And I was like, worst case scenario, we get there a day early and our first day is like a chill beach day. We'll just be beach bums. And that's exactly what we were able to do. I was able to do the drive in 2 days. And so that first day that we were there, which ironically was Father's Day. So the kids weren't able to be with their dad on Father's Day, but I don't make the schedule, obviously. We had to be there that Sunday because we had rehearsals the following Monday. And then we were performing Tuesday, and I don't even remember how many days after that. But at the beach, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that we got to start that week off with a beach trip, because it wasn't a vacation, right? Like nationals, like a dance competition that lasts for a fucking week. That's not a vacation in any stretch of the imagination. And you're lucky if you can squeeze in a couple of touristy things in. I knew for me, because I have 3 dancers on 3 competitive lines, my schedule was pretty much it. Like it was done for. Once like the nationals week started, we were just going to be dancing, and that's basically what it was. So to have that first day be beach day was just what my soul needed to carry me through the rest of that week. Oh my gosh. And I just love the beaches over there. I'm a Southern California girl. That's where I was born and raised. And the Pacific Ocean it's just kind of always cold. Even in the summer, it warms up a little bit. So it's not like icicles, but it's more so that like it's so fucking hot that getting in the cooler water feels good. But the water it's just kind of always cold. It doesn't really fully warm up. But the Atlantic Ocean on the East Coast, it's always warm. Or at least in the summer, like, I don't know. But it's every time I've been in it, it's always warm. And it's so nice. We had a great time at the beach, and it's such a good practice, right? To plan your pleasure first. And yes, my pleasure was contingent on everything going according to plan. But I did intentionally plan that. And as a single mom, that's how I am able to do anything for myself, is that I plan my me stuff first. Because look, let's be real. If you try to like squeeze it in where you have time, you never have time. You have to intentionally plan it first. Otherwise, your life is just going to fill in every crack and crevice of your free available time with its bullshit, right? So, moral of the story, plan your me time first. Always, always, always. You'll never regret it. I'm very serious when I say like it was what got me through the rest of that week, because I started with just like beach bum day. Not to say that it wasn't draining a little bit, just because we were in direct sunlight for a little bit too long. I think we were on the verge of probably a little bit of heat stroke. I'm glad that I pulled us when I did. The kids, of course, didn't want to leave, but the tide was coming in. The tide was coming in, and it was getting like much stronger and a little bit dangerous. So I was like, and that's our cue to go, guys. Let's go find that Airbnb. I just love Charleston. This is our second nationals in Charleston. I love that area so much. The food is fantastic. I love all the history. I'm such a nerd, but it just fascinates me. I love seeing old buildings, and just learning about all of the history that's there. And the fact that it's on the beach, it's just like a perfect city to me, except for the humidity. Holy shit balls, you guys. Like there are multiple days where you look outside and you can't see anything because the windows are just full of condensation, not because it rained, because there's that much water in the air. I checked on when we were leaving, I checked the humidity like level on my weather app, because it was just oppressive. 86%. It was 86% humidity that day. No bueno. No bueno at all. No, thank you. I have a hard enough time with the humidity that we experience in Wisconsin, which comparatively to East Coast and the South, like it's nothing. But I'm such a baby about the humidity that the Wisconsin humidity is still like a little too much for me. But while we're on the topic of like intentionally taking care of yourself, when we got back from nationals, the girls went with their dad on a Wednesday. And so I had Wednesday through Sunday, kid free. I did have some things on my calendar for work. I gave myself Wednesday. So I had already like pre-planned that in advance. I was like, we'll be back on Tuesday and I'm taking Wednesday off. And I'm so glad that I did that. And I didn't put anything on my calendar because I was just a lump on a log. I was so physically tired and I just needed that day. But I needed more than just the one day. So sorry for that interruption. You guys, getting work done when the kids are home 100% of the time is like totally different ball of wax than juggling the schedule of like driving them to school and stuff, which is its own stress and takes a whole different type of planning too, right? Anyways, right. I needed more than just the one day. So Thursday and Friday, I had a couple of things on my calendar. I got through those things and then I just fucking bed rotted. anytime I wasn't working, coaching in the mom summer camp group, which if you haven't joined us, please come join us. It's been so much fun. It's just a space to be real and raw about that kind of shit when your kids are interrupting or when they're destroying your house. It's been so much fun. So please come and join us. I'm going to put the link of that in the show description here. But when I wasn't coaching, doing that, recording podcasts, I was literally just bedrotting for days. And I started binging Two Broke Girls on the Roku channel, which is it's pretty good. It's funny. It's just, kind of mindless TV. But it has a laugh track, which took me back. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize this show was so old. It has a laugh track. But it's funny. But I'm so glad that I was able to do that for myself, because a year ago, 2 years ago, especially, I would not have been able to rest that much without feeling huge amounts of shame and guilt, because I've lived my life being someone whose worth is tied to her productivity. And so before, when the girls were with their dad, I would fill in all available time. I was seeing someone at the time. So if I wasn't, seeing him, which my brain counted in the productivity, like I was doing, like it counted if I was doing something, if I was like spending time with someone else, but not if I just took time for myself. And I would like deep clean the house or just find some random project. I was always like doing. And I had such a hard time allowing myself to rest. And having that span of 5 days where I literally just rested as much as I could without feeling any shame or guilt, just being grateful for everything coming together so that I could do that. Holy shit. Gold star, Amanda. I have grown so much and I'm so proud of myself. And I'm sharing this in hopes that it inspires you to really take a look at like the way that you're operating in your life and ask yourself, like, are you making enough time for rest? Do you struggle like I used to with resting and feeling like it makes you lazy? It makes you mostly just lazy, right? Like you're not doing enough. And diving into that and asking yourself, like, do you really need to hold on to that belief? Because I'll tell you, I felt like $1,000,000 coming into this week. Got my kids back on Monday and I was back to my normal work grind with my business. And I was ready for it. I didn't come into this week depleted because I gave myself the permission for just this abundance, this overflow of rest and pouring into myself. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July. Stay safe. If you're doing your own fireworks, be safe. Don't be stupid, please. I love you all too much for anyone to be getting hurt or stirred in fires. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome everyone to this episode of Fuck It Mothering. I am your host, Amanda Haro. I'm exhausted. I had an all-day recital yesterday with my kids. They had 4 shows. So I'm a little like, I'm still waking up here, but I'm so excited to have this conversation. I'm going to let my guest introduce herself because I'm really excited to get going.
Thanks for having me. Gao Motsemme is my name. And I just love what you said about being exhausted. But before we can go in there, I love to start the conversations by greetings and extending the greetings to the audience. And I do that in my native language, Dumelang, Lokai. And Dumelang in direct translation is agree. Lokai is where are you? More like locate yourself. So the question that I'm just starting with is, what are you agreeing to when you're showing up in Forget Mothering? What is it that you are willing, when it comes to mothering, you are willing to say, fuck it to that. And and it may start with just you choosing to be here and saying, this is my time and I'm going to listen to this and just connect and listen, and not listening with the mind with what you know and being fully scattered, but listening more with the body, being fully present and allowing the body to inform you. So that is where you look at yourself. And as you said, you are exhausted. One thing that actually came through, because um, it's more like I'm having a session with one person, but it's a session with fucking mothering community, right? And just
Yes.
before this
Yes.
call, I was hit with lots of emotions. And it's not even surprising, because when you're talking about mothers, we carry a lot, not only for us, but for our children, even for the collective. So the whole thing of what are you agreeing to? It's also
Mm.
being clear of processing your own and letting go of what is not yours. And where are you is also being honest with how you're feeling. And let's just dish this nonsense of, I get to pretend to be this, I have it all together, oh, it's all good, I'm positive and all that.
Oh yeah, no, I am not about
Yeah,
that life at
yeah.
all. Like anybody who's been around in my community for a while knows that like I keep it real.
So that's it. That's the most power right there. This is why all these emotions were coming through to say, can we just embrace even the power of those emotions? So I just wanted to start with that. So
Yes.
thanks for having me.
Well, what a way to start. Just straight out the gate, bam. Like I love that. Oh my gosh. So tell us more about like what you do. Let's just start with like your business, what you do, and how you got into that space.
Awesome. Yeah, I help especially women break free from generational patterns and imprints, which often lead us to those toxic relationships, and tap into the unwavering self-love and embody their confidence. And I say, and thrive in the
Mhm.
bedroom and boardroom and beyond, which is incorporating and integrating all that we are. Whether you're in the bedroom or boardroom, you get to show up in your power. That is the feminine power. So this is huge, and I got to do this work. And actually, I can just say that this is the work that I was born to do, and I knew it since I was a child. But somehow, the moment I started sharing all that was coming through with my parents, the first one was like, oh my God, you're going to be a traditional doctor. You better go to church. So it was like, don't do what you're here to do. Try to find something else like we did. It's the gift that is in my lineage that I accepted.
Mhm.
And then with that said, and also when it comes to fully being ourselves, there is conditioning and the programming when it comes to the societal system, the political system, the medical system, the educational system, the religious system. It's like every
Mhm.
system is teaching us who to be. And we are just out there, especially when it comes to motherhood. As a child, you learn from your mother who you are, what is accepted and what is not. For me, it was like that battle between me and my mom, where there was a dance of, this is who I am. No, you can't be that. You get to be like all my other children. Why are you different? And all that. So this caused that wound of not feeling accepted. And that's what I played when I went out, whether it was in friendship, in relationship, both even at work. There was that mother-daughter relationship that I was playing out even at work, where yeah, back and forth with my boss and all that, and I always felt I'm being criticized and all that. But somehow, along the way, the corporate job that I had, which was more like an identity, I wore it as an identity, and as
So many people do. I mean, most people identify as their profession. You ask them about themselves, and the very first thing out of their mouths is, well, I am a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, they go directly to their profession.
Absolutely. So those are the identities that are all. For me, it was like that of a mother and that of an accountant, until I lost my job. And after I lost my job, I guess somehow the universe also took away from an identity of a daughter, because I went through a situation where my younger brother had an accident, and shortly after my mom got sick and then she passed on. And after that, I lost my children. I was separated with my children due to the judicial injustice. So when you look at it, it's like many identities were just dissolved all at once. And I was in that moment where I
Yes.
didn't know who I was. I was angry, powerless, and lost in a way, and also even questioning life, especially as mothers. We are esteemed by our children. For me, when I was working hard, coming home at 2 a.m. in the morning, at the back of my mind, I'm doing it for my children. But I was never present.
Right.
Right. I was never present, but I was doing it for my children. So when I was going through that situation, there was a part of me, as we always say, I will kill for my children. So I was thirsty for blood, but being in that situation, here I was in different situation where every office that I went into, I just couldn't believe what was going on, whether it was with social workers, with the judicial, with the judge actually, and it was a woman for that matter. So what a beautiful thing to think that, okay, fine, it's a woman and these are the facts. I've been a single mother and doing this by myself, and this man even owes this maintenance, but then she sat there with pride. And I bet in her mind, she was just like, I'm going to put you in your place. So she did put me in my place, So
Wow.
I didn't know who I was. And through that, the words that literally came through when I now came there, because we are disconnected from ourselves. We focus on what is out there. But when life happens, one or the other, we come back within in that when we are on our knees and all that. And I remember I had this nudge, a very strong nudge to start writing, and I started writing. And the first words that came through was, who are you without your career, without your religion, without your mother, your father, your partner, all those things, your house, all those things. So I'm just writing, but I'm not really connected to this message, because I'm thinking that, maybe I'm going to send it to Amanda or Lisa or whoever. It's not my message, until it says,
Right.
who are you without your children? At that moment, I was like, oh, this is for me. And I started crying. And I said, I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. So through that journey, even that question that came through to say, find who you are, I would say it's kind of like another portal opened, where I got to, even there was a moment where I was basically called up on my shit. That is me who was making love with this anger, who was making love with this entitlement, and also a victim. And I'm not saying feeling like a victim is wrong, because we make it wrong, but I feel like feeling like a victim is, and it's the beginning of being awoke. You wake up to say something is happening to me, because there are people who are going through life and
Yes.
they're not even aware that something is happening. It's kind of like, this is just normal and it doesn't matter. So the moment you feel like a victim, I feel like that's the moment where am I? What is happening? So
I love that.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. That's such an important distinction to make. And you're right. It is an important part of the process, because there are so many people who are just numb, and they're not awake. They're not paying attention. They're not aware. I think the problem with the victim, and it's the victim mentality. If you get stuck in victim mentality, it strips you of your power to affect change. And that's when it becomes a problem if you stay there.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with realizing that. Even like what I say is, we are not victims, but we are having a victim experience. But when we now
Yes.
identifying like I'm a victim, that's when that victim mentality comes, and we start living and creating from that. So I was
Right. Yeah. Because you're identifying as it. And so then you're just creating more of
from
it.
that. Yeah. So while I was
Yes.
angry
Yes.
and holding into all this, and feeling like, yeah, I should just go, and I mean, whatever way, even if it was if it meant using some voodoo I would, or having a gun, I just wanted to take this man out. But at that moment, that's when the message came through to say, that's not what you're here for. You're not here to do things like that. And the message was very simple. The problem is, you think these children belong to you. but they don't.
Oh, man. That must have been so hard to sit with.
They don't belong to you. They were given to you to take care of them. They are on their own path. They belong to God. They have their own mission. Are you willing to follow your own soul path? That was like, dun, 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 wake up, resentment, resistance, and all that. But on the other hand, what can I do? It is what is happening. I can run from it or accept it, because I say when you resent the problem, you are resenting the solution. So at times, the most important thing is to accept that this is here. And the only way is
Right.
through it. And through that pain, through all that I didn't understand, because that's not what we are taught. We are taught, it's because as I was going through that, for me, I was feeling shame, and just not even knowing, like I said, not even knowing how to have conversations with other people, because at times, even when you're sharing with someone, oh, this is what happened, and it's kind of like, oh my God, I don't know if I can be alive if I was in that situation. So for me, what I was just receiving is kind of like, for me, even to be alive is wrong as a woman, because other people can't make it because they love that children so much, right? So
Right.
that's how I felt, that
Right.
shame. And I had to go through it, but through the brokenness, through the mess that I found myself in, I found myself and found
Right.
my purpose. And I always say, if it means going through that again, for me to find me, I'll go through it again.
Wow. Wow. You're incredible. Absolutely incredible. I want to back up a little bit if you're comfortable. Can you elaborate a little bit on your story of the process of losing your children? I know that people who are listening to this are going to be like, wait, what happened? Because and what country were you living in at the
I was
time?
in Botswana, my home country.
Okay.
Yeah. And the flipping crazy thing is, I had 2 children who were not married. So it doesn't make sense. Even for me, it doesn't make sense. And I don't think I'll ever understand it. Let's just start with that.
Right.
Right. And even
Right.
back home, when I told them what was happening, like I said, when you share that you've lost a child, death, it's easy for people to be compassionate. They empathize with you. But when you say I've been separated from your children, people start raising eyebrows. It's kind of like,
Right. The question was probably like, what did you do
what did
wrong?
you do wrong? So for me,
Right.
it was a situation where, like I said, I was with my children by myself, and here I was, I lost my job, and it's flipping insane, because I remember when I was going through the counseling, those sessions when they're preparing you for you to let go in a company. The guy who was there, and I believe it was still God speaking to me. That guy asked me a question that do you think accounting is really for you? And I said, no, it's not actually. I don't like it. And he said, yeah, it doesn't suit you. And it's never too late for you to change careers. So I just want you to know that. And
Wow.
the second thing that he said to me was, you should be careful, because now that you won't be working, the father of the children may come for you. And then a year or two later, that happened. So when he came through and went to pitch his case, because by then I met my now ex-husband. So his story was, I'm denying him access to his children, so he wants his children. And also he heard rumors that I'm planning to move to Germany, so I want to take the children away from him. That's what he presented. But I didn't deny him access, but I refused that he takes the kids, especially when he came drunk, because he had a problem with alcohol. So for me, I felt it
Right.
would be irresponsible as a mother to let him take the kids when he was intoxicated. So then he went and spun it around and blame it on me, and even used, because I haven't started my processes of relocating, but I visited for the first time for 3 months. And during the time when I visited for 3 months, that's when he took the case to court. And that was like the first time ever in my life that I let my children be with my sister, and I relocated just to come in. I mean, I visited for 3 months to come and see what is happening and all that. And somebody told him what he told him, and they went to court, because life is life. There are people and things happen. It's kind of like we do a situation
Yeah.
where you're working on your stuff, and before you know it, somebody spilled the beans somewhere. It's kind of like, but how did this? How did this happen? But yeah,
Right.
I just received a call from my sister, like, hey, there are some court papers here from the father of the children. And at that moment, especially as a mother, it's kind of like, as a mother, it's a crime to take a breather for you to do anything. And for me to leave the country for 3 months, already I deserve to be hanged. It's kind of like,
Right. Yeah. Like, how dare you? You're so selfish.
it's the rule. As
Yeah.
a mother, you don't have to have a life. You can't do anything. But as the father that he was, he would go for 6 months. We're in the same country. He would go for 6 months or more.
Oh, dads can flit in and out as much as they want, and it's
Yeah.
totally fine. And when they come back in, everyone's praising them, like, "Oh, look at you with your children." That's one thing that, like, this is a tangent, and we will get back to your story. But that's one thing that I really hate about, like, the difference between single moms and single dads, because single moms, like, no one even blinks an eye, just like, whatever, you probably did that to yourself. But a single dad, you see them outside with their kids, and people are like, "Oh, you're such a good dad. Look at you." And it's like, no, he's doing the bare minimum right now. And I was doing that yesterday, and you didn't say shit to me.
Oh my, it's a lot. And it's not surprising that I was even feeling this heaviness before I came here, because for many generations we've been dealing with this, and we're still dealing with it, and
Yeah.
here I was. And when I guess this is also one of the reasons why, I don't know, I believe there was corruption, but still, on the other hand, they felt that they were entitled to that, because it's kind of like, what kind of a mother is she? Or she thinks that now she can come through, and with her going abroad and all that nonsense. I don't know, because I was always met with attitude. Even when I was talking to social worker, there was always an attitude that I failed to understand. And let me just open a little bit of a door here. This man is going to court. He wants the kids, and he's not even renting a place of his own. He is living with his girlfriend.
Stop it.
Listen,
And they still gave him the kids.
he's living with his girlfriend / sister-in-law. This woman,
Oh my God.
yeah, this woman was married to his brother. And I remember I was called by the social worker at some point, and he said, yeah, when you need to come here, we have to have a conversation about these children. And what? And who's gonna be there? Yeah, it's the father of the children and his girlfriend. And I'm like, I have to come and have a conversation. I come by myself, and this guy is coming with his girlfriend, and it's gonna be these people and just me by myself. And and I'm telling her, you know what? I'm not attending that meeting. I'm not. If at all, not attending this meeting means I'm gonna lose my children, so be it. And that was it. The next thing, I get a call from my lawyer. When I talk about corruption, I get a call from my lawyer, and she says, I just received a call from the other lawyer, and they're saying that you gave them the children. And I told her what I told her. But then the next question is, but if the social worker is supposed to do her work, she's supposed to do whatever that she does and whatever she finds and go present it in the presence of both lawyers. How come she's having a direct conversation with the other lawyer about every single interaction between me and her, right?
Right.
So I
Right.
went back to the office, and I remember she said to me, oh, Gao, you are just so naive. if you can only know that these children are going to be by this woman's place. So that was just kind of like, get over it. Whatever thing that you've got up your head, these children are going to be by this woman's place, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So I bet the whole agenda was he knew who I am and how much my children meant to me. And he didn't want me to relocate. And the only way that he could stop me is through the children, you know. And at that moment, the pain that I was going through every day, because my children are, we call it colored back home, you know, they're mixed. So when I remember one of the days when I was preparing my children to take to school, my daughter was like, before she turned 5, and then she looked at me and she said, "But mommy, why are you not like us? Why is your skin different?" So I'm like, oh shit, they're flipping playing this whole racism card again. So it's kind of like a lot.
Yeah.
And all these things were hitting home and they were sucking life out of me. And at some point, I remember the time when I made a decision, like, fuck it. This is why I love this show. Like, fuck it. I went to the school. There was a school. It's kind of like a walk project or whatever. So the children came and their parents, and some things were just being sold and all that. I forget the name of it, but something walk. So I went there with the children, obviously, and this man came with his family, and the whole time the children chose to be with them, and I was walking by myself. So the whole walk thing, I was by myself. And I was bleeding inside. I was bleeding. You know, as a mother, you would know how that feels. They just came at the end and say, "Oh, Daddy bought us some chips. Mommy, can you just buy us some drinks?" And at that moment, I made a decision. I'm fucking leaving this country. So I went, applied for my visa, and left. And I started fighting for this case from here. You know, so it took many different appeal, many different lawyers. And I remember one incident actually, because I wore a strong woman mask. You know, we have this mask that we wear, which at times there is a rescuer mask where you want to save everybody, but not yourself. There is a strong woman mask where we wore this strong nonsense, and we don't cry, we don't ask for help. We shoulder through it, but at the end of the day, it's all heavy. You know, there is all the intelligence again, especially when you're talking about being in the boardroom. We wear the intelligence where we don't get to connect, but it's more like he's saying what people want to hear and all that, so that you can appear intelligence. There is all the approval seeker mask and all that. Although I wore different ones or different of this mask, or basically all of them, but there was the Armstrong one was more dominant in my life. So even while going through this, I was kind of like, I'm strong and I'll see what I can do. So I went through it until one day I received a call. And it was weird because this man never called me, but for this time around, he called me. I was at work. And I picked up the phone wondering, what the heck is this? And the first thing he said was, "You may need to sit down for this one." And I sat down and he said, "Fiona, that is my daughter, the one you just saw. She was before she turned 9. It was a day before her birthday. She said she had an accident. She was bitten by 2 Rottweilers, and they cut some muscles on her, around her thigh, leg, and all that. And we don't know if she'll ever walk again." And at that moment, all these years, my prayer, my gratitude was, I'm glad that nothing has happened. You know, and at that moment when I had this, I felt, actually the words that just came through was, I'm tired of being strong. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I just realized that this being strong nonsense is not serving me. And it's kind of like I surrendered and I allowed myself to feel in that moment, because I didn't know what that meant, or even what does all this mean? You know, I'm here in Germany, my daughter is there, and I'm hearing that she may never walk 2 Rottweilers. It's just like it's all too much, you know. And here I am, even in the marriage where there was still the alcohol addiction issue, and at that moment I had to go back home. my now ex-husband, he couldn't even come with me because of the whole addiction issue. So there I was, I went back, and I was just grateful to find this other woman who was helping me, a social worker, but in the medical Abteilung. Oh God, wie sagt man? In the medical department. Now I'm thinking of German. In the medical department. So I was like, oh, okay, this social worker might. And also, I mean, here are the papers. I'm not making this up, because this was the day when the children were supposed to be at school, but they were not at school because our father drank a lot the previous day. And now,
Okay.
yeah. So the social worker took the papers and said, okay, fine, this is a simple case. I don't understand, but let me just look into it. After 3 days, she came back and gave me the files and said, "That's an easy case. If you were meant to win it, you would have won it. But what you are dealing with here, my lovely, is a spiritual battle." And she gave me the
Wow.
files. And that was it. And I took the files. I did what I did, and I came back to Germany while still wondering what's next. And there was a time when I had these words to say, even if you go and find another lawyer, the odds are against you. You won't win this case. What am I supposed to do? You need to do the work. You need to forgive everyone involved. And I started laughing. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You know,
I think that would have been my reaction too. I would have
Like-
just laughed.
are you crazy? Forgiveness? What the hell are you talking about? And I'm
Yeah.
laughing at the same time. There's just tears strolling down because I don't even know what that meant. And when I was saying all this, like, whoever you are, you're just crazy. The next question caught my attention. Do you want your children back? And I said, yeah. You need to do the work. And I said, I don't know how to forgive. I don't know how to forgive. Are you willing? And I said, yes. So that was the moment I pulled my attention back and basically put my dress back into my panties because I didn't know what everything meant. Like, okay, fine, whatever this is, then I'm gonna be in. But the question that I had was, then how would I know that I have forgiven? Their hearts will change and you'll have your children back. And this is very important because whether it's in personal development or just conversations with friends or other mothers, at times when we are hurting or you share with somebody what is happening, people are quick to say, just forgive. Just forgive. And now we have resorted to also being quick with, oh, I forgot, I've forgiven. We are these positive people. I have forgiven.
Yeah.
Have you really? Because forgiveness, I can tell you that forgive, but forgiveness is not mental, especially if you have all those emotions and everything logged in your body, and even the anger that we don't process, all of that, when it's stuck, we may tell ourselves what we tell ourselves, but the body always tells us what is going on. Because I went through this process and somehow I don't even know. I would just say because of the connection that I allowed to come through at that moment, all this conversation was happening beyond the mind. I was receiving downloads through that because I was not attached to the outcome, but I was just willing to go through the process. And I don't even know when the forgiveness happened. I don't know. What I know, the memory that was clear to me was when I was on my knees in my altar. And all I did at that moment was call all my ex. ancestors, guides, and everybody. And I asked, please guide this man into the light. Let him make conscious decisions and choices because my children need him. And at that moment, I didn't even know who the fuck I was. I was taking money and sending him and the children because he was in a dark space. And I was busy supporting both of them. And I didn't recognize that woman because it was a different woman from the one who wanted blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I knew that something has shifted. And I remember when I spoke to my ex-husband now, by then was my husband, and I would say we bonded because we had a common enemy, which was our ex. You know that conversation when you meet and you talk
Yes.
about, oh, your ex is crazy, your ex did this, your ex. So that was like our something that brought us together.
It's almost kind of like trauma bonding, but like hate bonding.
So
Yeah.
when I shared with him my stand, where I am, he couldn't understand. There was resentment towards me. What the fuck do you mean you're forgiven this whatever guy, calling all names? And I said, that's the father of my children. And even if my children gets to be here, I would appreciate if you don't talk about their father like that in their presence. And
Right.
at that moment,
Right.
it's kind of like, who the fuck are you? You know? So that shows as well. Like I said, I met him in the moment when I was down. So whatever that I manifested at that level. And here I was now because I did some work and he didn't. And that means that glue, the temporary glue that we had, also collapsed. So it was not surprising that when my children came, my divorce here was also ending because it served its purpose. It served
Right.
broken woman or the broken girl that was looking for her father. You know, it didn't serve the woman or the queen that I get to be, who gets to mother my children and also mother my inner child. You know, so
Yes.
that's basically that's how I can wrap it up. There is also another level, which is kind of like another upgrade in a way, but still it's around that separation with my children. Where here I was with my ex, with my husband, going through divorce and everything, and then he didn't like anything about whatever I was doing, whether it's my healing work. For him, it was like, I still want that accountant girl, not who you're becoming. Whatever that you're doing is just fantasy. And my children came, here I was, we separated, and guess what he did? The amazing, beautiful thing, because still we are here in Germany. I'm black, he's white. And before I knew it, I would say the same thing, the 3 months period, I don't know, maybe three means something. So after that, we're going through our own situation. He's back at court, wanting the child and all that, like, cause yeah. So this is somebody who was with me all along when I was going through whatever that I was going through. He knows how that took life out of me, and now he's busy fighting for the other child. And for me, it's like a continuation. Now it's more like more than 10 years while I'm still in this whole court case, back and forth, and all that. I'm depleted, and at some point, you know what? I don't want to go through the same thing that I went through. You've got your own alcohol addiction issue, but on the other hand, I don't want to deny this child the privilege of being with you. If you think you can do this, I'm going to give you 3 months for you to be with this child. And please take care of her by yourself, and then we can have a conversation. And because I told her that I felt like where I am, I'm getting depressed. And because of all this, and I can't because my children need me and all that is going on and all that. Because it was like shortly after the COVID thing, you know, COVID was also just a depressing thing by itself.
Yes.
And the 3 month period, here we are, 3 months is over, let's have a conversation. No, the child is not coming back to you. And I'm like, you flipping crazy. I went to school and I picked up my daughter. And the next thing, I get a letter and from court, there was a judgment that was done. And the next thing, the police are knocking by my door to take my daughter to the father. So that was like another deep betrayal that took me straight to the dark night of the soul. But it's a repetitive thing again with somebody. There's a lot of message here in the sense of, at times when you are down and you thinking you can find someone who can save you, this is when you're talking about personal power. The only power that you have is within you. Because at times you may find someone who it feels like you have something, like I say, that temporary glue. But this is also somebody who, when that doesn't serve him anymore, whatever that he knew, whatever that he learned at that time, he can turn and use that against you. And on the other hand, it's also, if when you talk about who we are here to be, and especially as mothers, we are here to restore the heart of humanity. I believe this at our core. And we cannot restore the heart of humanity by playing and doing things the way we've always done things. We need to connect deeply. We need to be able to hold space for our children and even for the men in our lives so that they may become who they were meant to be, not coming from fear, not coming from our inner children wanting to be loved, not coming from us sacrificing who we are to sustain a relationship. It doesn't serve anyone. But of course, there's going to be consequences like this, where it's coming from, I'm going to show who you are. That is someone who is hurting and they're willing to do anything by their head to bring you down, because they're used to doing that for a long time. That's what we call the wounded masculine, But at the same time, when you come from within and connect with that masculine, it's not about us being against men, because when we are against men, we're against the masculine that is within us, but at the same time, it's really,
That is such a good point. I don't think I've ever heard anyone make that point. That is such a good point.
It is, when we have a problem with men, it's us having a problem with the masculine within us. So when we go within, we'll realize the real war is not out there. The real war is within. Because I still remember, even when I was going through that divorce, and for me, there was a part of me that just felt like this man gave away this beautiful marriage and chose alcohol. And I was hoping that he can wake up and say, I choose my family. So I was resenting him for that. And plus, I'm spiritual. So being spiritual is something acceptable. It's something positive. I'm just saying, at times we don't realize that at times, even if something is positive, we can be resisting other people's path and who they are being, because this is acceptable and that is not acceptable. Until I was in a meditation, and the question that came through was, what part of you has a problem with this man's alcoholism? At first I was like, what kind of question is that? Because it's alcoholism is not good. It's not good for his health, not good for the family, and that's when it's kind of like I got a download and I realized that I'm not fighting this man. I'm fighting for my own father, who had alcohol addiction, and he died when I was 14. So I'm looking for somebody to save from that, but not necessarily him. I want to save my father. I want my father. I want to be loved. And for me, it's kind of like, when I show up for this man and rescue him, I may finally be loved. It was not about him. So I am making raw who he is being, because that is who I want him to be. This is why even the marriage had to end, because it was not gonna, if I held into that, I was gonna have to give up my purpose while I'm busy holding into that. I was gonna give up who I was, because even when I was going through that, there were many voices. What do you want? It's like, for me, wanting to have a name, wanting to have an identity, wanting to have a voice, wanting to do what lights me up, which is what I call what turns me on. For many women who went before me, it was not safe. It was kind of like, why don't you just allow somebody to just love you and be like, what I felt actually, it was more like there was this energy with it. Like, I would say it was like a hand coming from my right side, and it kind of like grabbed my heart, but more in a possessive way, like, I own you. And then I was given this roses. I'm like, fuck that. I don't need the roses, I don't need the roses.
Your roses are not worth it.
That's it. So at times it's just like that. What is it that you are selling your soul for? because I still remember at that moment when the marriage was showing me that whatever you had hope for. Because the truth is, even when I was going through the altar, I knew that that marriage was not for me. So it's not surprising that this man at the end did what he did. I knew, but there was a part of me that was like, yeah, let me just go through with it. And then things turned out the way he turned. And even I would say, when I look at the betrayal that I felt when he, especially when it comes to the child, I really felt betrayed. But most important thing, I didn't want to accept that he's doing that. A part of me was like, this is not happening. It can't be him. He's not doing this. He can't. Because I knew that he's like, a part of me is grateful that when I needed somebody, he was there. I'm grateful for that. So it's kind of like, I don't want to see who he is being because this is who he was,
You wanted to hold on to that vision of him.
Yeah, I don't want to accept who he's being. I want to accept what I've always known him to be, and it doesn't mean that there's no good in him, but at the same time, this is who he is showing me to be, and I'm resisting that. This is important in so many ways, because at times we stay in relationships and saying, he will change, she will change, whatever stories. It's us refusing to accept who other people are being. And yet we want to be accepted. Because it starts with that. Somebody is they don't want me to be who I am. Where are you also not wanting other people to be who they are? Somebody is disrespecting me. Where are you disrespecting yourself? Where are you disrespecting your passion? Where are you disrespecting your purpose? Because for me, I felt all these sorts of things, but at the end of the day, this was the questions that I was asked, and I realized that every time when I fell in love with potential and say that this man has potential, well, the potential that was showing up was my own potential. The question is, was I willing to unleash it, or was projecting it to other people? Because projection is not only about the bad thing. We project even the positive things. What we are not willing to unleash, we want to see it in other people. So I was going.
Oh, that's so good. God, there's so much goodness in everything that you just said. I love it so much. Are you falling in love with the potential? Oh, God, I have like that. My whole romantic history is just falling in love with the potential that I see. And I'm recognizing this as like a gift of myself. I have the gift of seeing what someone is capable of. I see like their highest self. But as a young person, I took that as like, oh, I'm seeing into the depths of who you really are. No, they're not that person yet. I see what they have the potential to become, but they're not that yet. And they might never become that because that's their choice to become that person.
Exactly. Because when we do that, even we are falling, it's like, yeah, I see you. It's you, Amanda. I can see you, but I don't love you. I love who you could be. So
yes, exactly. And that's not fair of me either. Like that wasn't fair of me to put that on them either, because it's their journey, it's their choice, it's their life. And then I put them in a position where like they were just never measuring up.
Whew. And this is what I'm talking about. Because for me, when I'm talking about an extraordinary person, an extraordinary queen, it's somebody who is willing to respect somebody's path.
Yeah. And that gave me so much healing with the father of my children, because he is the exact same person he always has been. And divorce can bring out like the worst in people. And there was a lot of like shit that went down, and I held on to resentment for a while. And it's like, I'm honestly just now releasing the habit of shitting on him all the time. Like just like just himself and making jokes and stuff, because it's just like, I realized how much it was bringing my own energy down and keeping me from my next best version of myself. Yeah. And, he just is who he is, and he gets to be who he is, and just allowing him to be who he is released so much stress in co-parenting with him.
And we get to choose whether you want to be with that person as they are or not. Because one thing that I also learned is that love is never absent. So this whole excuse that often women tell themselves, oh, but I love him. Heck yeah, you love that person. That's why you were with that person. And that love will never change. People have this thing of, there's going to be a time when I'm not in love with this person. No, there's going to be a time when you flip and shut your heart, which won't serve you, because like I said, a closed hand does not receive, so is the closed heart. So when you shut your heart, you are shutting an aspect of yourself that fell in love with that person. You are fully disconnecting from it, because there is a part of you that saw yourself in that person. Yeah. So here I was feeling the betrayal that took me to the dark night of the soul. And even refusing that, I was resenting this. And I remember the question that came was how, let's say you meet somebody that you don't know and they do something, would you ever feel betrayed? Would you ever feel betrayed by someone that you don't know? No. You don't have any expectation, you don't know the person, so there won't ever be betrayal. So it has to happen from somebody that you know for you to get the lesson. Otherwise, it's not betrayal.
Right.
Yeah. The question is, what is in it for us in that? And like I always say again, where are we also betraying ourselves? Because when I walk through that altar and I say those vows, I flipping knew within my heart that this is not something that I should, until death do us part. What nonsense. I just knew. But I still betrayed myself, betrayed my guidance, and went ahead and say those words that I didn't mean. So when we look at it, because people commit to us at the level that we're committed to ourselves. People love us at the level that we love ourselves. People are truthful with us at the level that we're truthful to ourselves. So where are you lying to yourself? Where are you convincing yourself? Every time when you go to the mind and try to reason, that means you are running away from something. This is how people disconnect from their bodies. And eventually, they don't even know that truth. Because it's kind of like they're trying to tell themselves what they want to tell themselves. And especially, when it comes to relationship, marriage, and even motherhood, it's more about, it still comes with this, with the status in the society, the roles that comes with that. Like I said, what esteems you? If you're esteemed by just being a mother, and even to the children, it doesn't serve the children. Because that's times when you feel like this whole. I was talking to my daughter and I said, motherhood is like a curse, and then she rolled her eyes, and I'm telling you. So because at times she tells me that I don't want to have children, but I'll say I also didn't want to have children at some point in time, but here you guys are here, but I'm also saying, at the same time, if you don't want to have kids, don't feel bad about it. Because we have this thing of when a woman says, I don't want to have kids, I didn't feel like I want to have kids. I didn't want to have kids, but somehow I bet it was my greatest lesson, because here I had kids, and all the 3 children that I had, 2 by one guy, 1 by the other, but still they follow the same journey, of which when I look at the core of it, what a beautiful experience. That started in my home country and experiencing all that I'm experiencing, the oppression, the injustice, and all that. And then it ends here in Germany, where when you're talking about oppression and just the energy, the heaviness, the injustice in Germany, that is. So I never wanted to come to Germany, but here I am, and it's kind of like, this is where the root is. Whatever that when I was back home, it's kind of like, it was just like the branches, all the leaves and all that. But now here I was, where I experienced the roots. Like I said, I was not even given a chance to be at court, but a decision was made without me being present. And another thing, there is nothing as painful as a mother as seeing the police come to pick up your child and they're taking that child away. I'm talking to the social worker. He's not even willing to listen to what I'm saying, because on the other hand, even when you're talking about the racism and all that, a white person in a white country can decide anything, and they're more ahead than me. And this is also even when I look at other reasons, this is somebody who has got alcohol issues, but still that doesn't matter. So when I look at it, all of it, it's still that that spiritual path. And I remember at some point, I was not talking about my situation in Germany because I was resisting it. And I also had another level of shame, where it's kind of like, this should not be happening. Something is wrong with me or whatever. I didn't even know what I was, even when I'm talking about wrong. And that people who at times they go through divorce many times, and at times they end up staying in a toxic relationship or marriage because I have divorced so many times. What would people say? Fuck it. If you are not ready to move on and do something else, stop
Yes.
sacrificing because of what would people say and all that. There's a lesson that is in there for you. There is a reason why the universe is coming back with the same power and say, hey, how are you gonna go through this one? I feel like it's a tease. I'm telling you, it's kind of like, hey, what did you learn here? What are you gonna do about it? Like I said, when I went back to there's some offices here that help women and all that. This is offices that help women. And I'm glad that this conversation about women, whether they're in leadership position is showing up, because when you're talking about patriarchal wound, I say patriarchal wound has made men powerless by shutting off their hearts, and it made women powerless by shutting off their womb. It's another topic. I don't know if you go there about our sexual energy and all that. But you realize that the patriarchal wound does not play from men to women. We as women have become the tools for this patriarchal wound. We hate each other. We bring each other down. We are the first one to look at another woman who's fully embracing her sexuality, who is looking all sexy and all that, and just call them names. We are the first one who are gonna turn our back on another woman taking her place instead of cheering and supporting her. But we're gonna find out a man who we can support so that this woman does not get to shine as much as she needs to shine. And I was in the office. And the first thing that this woman asked me about this whole 3 months agreement, and she was just like, so you decided to just not see your child for 3 months as a mother, and that is just like okay. And she didn't even hear a single word that I say, that I was going through a period where I realized that I'm getting depressed. And again, this is her father. So I felt like I'm here in Germany. I'm the only parent. I don't even have a breather to say I'm going to take my children to their whatever. I'm their friend, their mother, their relative, their everything in this country. And at times it can be too much. And because of the stigma about the whole mother and who you get to be, you don't deserve the time to yourself. We don't get the help. That woman judged me in my face. When I left that office, I asked myself, what the fuck was I even doing here? Because it didn't serve me. In the end, it brought a lot of, it pulled me down even more. And this is the society that we live in, where we just are judged without even saying a word. And this is done by another woman to another woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because it's true. Patriarchy doesn't serve anybody. It, like you were saying, it doesn't serve men. It doesn't serve women. And also it's not men doing it to women exclusively. It's more of like, it's almost like patriarchy is like a spirit that has descended upon us that oppresses all of us, but we help perpetuate it, like you were saying. And women need to support other women. And it's almost like when we see another woman who is confident in herself and it bothers us inside, there's something about her that's just like, ugh, who does she think that she is? How dare she, just flaunt herself? It's like that inner part. It's riling up the inner part of us that wishes we could do that. Ooh. But we don't want to sit with it. We don't want to actually feel that. And so instead, we try to tear her down and bring her back down to our level.
That's easier.
So that we don't have to feel it.
Yeah. It's easier to ask, how can I do that? How can I have that? Because there is that power. Yes. But even jealousy, we often talk about jealousy like, oh, it's a demon, whatever, devil, evil, whatever. For me, I feel like jealousy is just like that message that is like, baby, you can do this or more. Are you willing?
Yes, jealousy is actually a very useful tool because it shines a light into areas of your life that you actually desire more. You want more, you want something different.
When we embrace it and allow it to inform us, because even emotions, those discordant emotions where we're feeling sad, grief, and all that, they're just showing that, baby, here you are not in alignment. Are you willing to embrace all
Yes.
of you? Instead of
Yes.
putting it somewhere, because when I look at mother wound, mother wound is as a result of patriarchal wound as well, because the reason why there is all these wounds, not accepting our children, not wanting our children to be a certain way, wanting our children to be successful so that we can be proud, we can be esteemed by whatever that they did, even blaming ourselves for some of the path that our children are going through. It's all because of patriarchal wound, because it's kind of like it's written here, like this is how you have to be. So we get to meet those standards. So even when we get our children and whatever that we have a problem with, we have a problem with it. The funny part is, even though it may show up differently, but whatever that your parents did have a problem with you, it's what you're going to play, because it's in the shadows. It's going to play with you having a problem with your children not being a certain way. This is how things are done. And it's quite interesting because of all things that trigger me about here in Germany, it's that's just how it is, when I just started being here, what I had often was just like, das machen wir nicht so. Das geht nicht bei uns. And that what they mean is like, that's not how we do things. So our way is the right way, and there's no other way. If you're doing that, that is wrong. So I feel like even parenting, we are doing it from this. This is how things get to be. You are my child, you get to be like this. We are not willing to calm down and be willing to learn from each other, which is a dance, because even when it comes to the baggage that we're caring about what is expected from me as a mother, no one knows how to parent a soul. First thing, we don't even know why these children are here. We don't even know why these children chose us. When I was going through the dark night of the soul and I wanted out, I wanted out. And I remember when I asked my daughter, why did you choose me? She said, I want you to help me with self-esteem. And by then I didn't know that I was going to be divorced from her father. I didn't know that we were going to go through the whole parental alienation issue and all of that. And she chose me because I get to be that light. And even the time when I was resenting this path, and my question was, what's the point of giving birth to these children if I can't mother them? The response was, what if you get to be the light? Are you willing to connect to the magic, the power that is within you, and know that no matter where these children are, your connection to them is not limited by space? You can connect with them and shine the light wherever that they are. And even Mother Earth came through and she said, that's how I feel when I'm waiting and longing for my children to wake up. But on the other hand, when you have a calling to be that mother, to expand beyond the human body and limitations, it's powerful. When something is happening, I can connect. I can hear her voice calling me mommy. I can connect to wherever that she is, whether it's in the dark room, and I get to be there and shine the light. And I know that she's going to wake up feeling better. That's what a connected mother is. And I believe only coming from this space, we can serve our children. Another thing being, one thing that I truly desire at my core is for a woman to hold space for her girl child and empower her in her sexuality, which is something that is not common because of the fear, the abuse that we went through. Instead of empowering this magic that we have within us and even us embracing it, because I believe the level that we are connected to we embody our sexual sovereignty, the level that we can be able to hold space for a girl child and empower them instead of shame them, which is something that is common amongst parents, and especially parents who have experienced sexual abuse. They don't know how to deal with their children. It's quite interesting, because when I look at this trend with different people that I've worked with, when the mother has been abused, the child is going to be abused. But the most painful thing that these people go through is when they come and tell their mother, this happened to me. And it's like it triggers the wound, but you don't want to accept that this happened to my child because you are making it your own fault. And the response
Right.
is always something that shuts the child even more. They are not even hurt by the abuse that happened, they are hurt by the response that they get from the mother when they come in that vulnerability and saying, something happened to me. And I don't
Yeah.
think this is a way we get to go on, especially when we're talking about sexual energy. This is the energy of creation. This is the energy that is connected to our purpose. This is the energy that is connected to our creativity, our pleasure, even our money. You know, one other thing when you have financial issues and all that, it's because of this. How much of you are you open to fully embracing, to having that pleasure, to making love with the universe? Because we are creating at all times. And the question is, what are you creating and where are you creating from?
Yes. Yes. God, it's so beautiful. You're beautiful. I absolutely love your whole energy and how you were able to go through what you went through and allow it to be a healing experience for you. How you allowed it to help you to go in, because not very many people would have done that.
Absolutely.
Do you have your children back?
I have my 2 children back. I had them, like, we've been together for 5 years now, and that also happened without any lawyer or anything. The issue that
Wow. So after all of that, it was when it was time for you to get them back, it was easy.
just like that.
Wow. Was there a part of you that was a little bit resentful at how easy it was when it finally happened?
I can't say I didn't feel any resentment around it. It's kind of like, it's kind of like I knew it. Here's the thing, with everything that we go through, there are always two aspects. It's kind of like I got to sort of like experience both aspects, especially when I was going through the divorce, where my soul is dancing to this experience and my human is afraid. So it's like
Okay.
when it happened, I kind of like knew it was going to happen anyway, so there was
Right.
that. But at the same time, I was dealing with a situation which was like my ex-husband by then felt like there's no need for these children to come here anymore. Like there was a time when I wanted them, but I don't want them anymore. So I don't think they should come. We can just support them where they are. It's also one of the things that also contributed to this not working besides so many other reasons, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like that was solved, and I don't even think I had the chance to celebrate this because already I was dealing with another
Yes, the
layer
other
of
child.
transformation that just knocked on my door, but it was also beautiful in the sense of, as much as like all this was happening and my children were here, in so many ways I got to see that, so it's kind of like, who the fuck have I been for the past 5, 6 years that I've been in this marriage? I remember, I remember one incident when we are at the restaurant, and my daughter is just like, she's just this light and open and jolly person, and she's just like, they're happy we're at the restaurant, and my ex-husband just felt like she's just being too much. She's just disturbing. She's just like, everything was just wrong with my daughter, and she could also feel the energy of not being wanted, and for me, this is what makes me happy. I love to see her being happy, being jolly and all that, and that's also my energy. So I just realized that I really shrugged so many times because I gave this man a version that I'm not, because when I see my daughter, I see me. But if this child that I see disturbs the peace of this man, then I don't know who the fuck I've been for the past years. So it brought that awareness that I haven't been myself. I
Yeah.
changed and became someone that I was not, so that this marriage can thrive. Not necessarily that it's thriving, but it's thriving at my expense.
Right. Right. My goodness. You are such a warrior. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I absolutely love that we got matched and that I got to meet you. I am going to ask you a few questions for our lightning question round. What did you want to be when you grew up?
That's a good question. And to be honest with you, I didn't have any. It's kind of like it's a clean slate in the sense of I didn't have anything that I would say, this is what I wanted to be. But what I know is like I was just busy exploring and trying everything. I come from a background where my family were not more, I would say, professional people. They were farmers. And as much as I just love being in nature, the whole farming, the whole animals and all that, I just enjoyed it, but it's not something that I was like, I'm going to be this because my parents are this. So I would say I was just like busy exploring. But one thing that is kind of like standing out for me when I was a child and just going through life, for me, there was still that philosophical thing because I was always wondering, what are we doing here? Why is there so much sadness in this world? I felt like we are lost. There is something that we need to find. We're lost. So that is kind of like something that was deeper than me wanting to be something. So I was just like stuck doing my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like your soul was already like tapped into like the deeper meaning of your purpose here. Yeah. But you were a child, so you couldn't really like you probably really didn't know what to do with it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Or even what it means. But I was just like wondering, am I crazy? Because even like talking about that, I still remember there was a moment where I felt like I was going to go crazy in the sense of there was just so much noise in my head, but the noise that is not like people. There was just a noise that I couldn't understand. There was just a lot that is going in my head where some people just put my hands in my thing and I just imagine I'm going to go to mental because whatever that is going on within me, I don't even know what it is, you know. So only later that I realized that I was connecting, kind of like there were so many spirits that were just like coming through. I was connecting to other realms without even knowing it, you know.
You were channeling and had no idea and just thought you were going crazy. Yeah. That's completely understandable. What is your favorite kid-free dinner? So if you get to pick dinner, no one else gets to voice their opinion. What are we eating?
For me, it would be, this is kind of like a dish from back home. And it's called tsui. So it's more like the root of the water lily. And then you mix it with meat, but then mash it, it becomes soft. It's kind of like a special meat from back home. So it's I just love it. And it's non-negotiable. And this is one thing. My ex-husband didn't like this, and I loved him for not liking it because that means more for me.
Oh, that's amazing. When was the last time that you had it?
It's been a long time now since I can't even remember. It's been a long time, but at times I can even smell it. That's how much I miss it, you know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. What is your favorite book?
That's a good question, but one book that is coming to mind is She Travels the Light by Raquel Spencer.
I haven't heard of that book.
I just love it because it speaks to my soul in the sense of, hey, it's more like it's more about all the esoteric stuff, all the crazy stuff. But it's just like the first time I read it, like the first book that I just opened and I was just like reading this. I was like, how did she know? Like it's kind of like I was reading my experience through her, you know.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
It's magical. I just love it. It's magical. And it was kind of like the first time I read it was more like a confirmation of you are not crazy. You are not crazy. So that's why I love it. She Travels the Light. I just love it. The way she wrote it, it's perfect, it's magical, it's everything, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'll have to read it. I love reading. I love reading everything, all points of view and opinions. And I love all the woo crazy stuff. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to add that to my list.
Enjoy it because there is a part of romance novel kind of thing, but everything, like, it's kind of like, I just love it. It's just amazing. Yeah. So you'll enjoy it, no doubt.
Amazing. I can't wait. What is your favorite guilty pleasure entertainment?
Guilty pleasure. Hmm. It's quite interesting because, like, what is coming to me, I don't know whether to call that guilty pleasure. Because what is coming to me is like my daughter likes to try a lot of things. So yesterday she even baked some what do you call them? Brownies, yeah. So
Yeah.
so as much as and it's yeah, she's 15 and at times she puts a lot of sugar, but at the same time because of I mean, she's my daughter. I want to support her. At times I'll just eat too much of it. And at the same time, I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing this to myself? And, but I just love that she loves to try things. And guilty pleasure, I don't know. But for me, like what is coming through, that is just like that. What I do enjoy trying my daughter's stuff at times, even when it's not the best, but I just love that she's doing something and I want to support her. And for me, the other pleasure would be just, I don't think there is guilt, but more like the wildness that comes with my own connection to my sexual energy, you know. And at times I
Yeah.
would say that like a little bit of guilt that comes with it is kind of like when I'm just feeling that energy, I'm kind of like, ooh, I wish there was no children here, so that I can just have that quickie with myself and just be
Yes.
with it. And
Yes.
it's funny because everything that comes with what we want to do and we look at as if like the children are an inconvenience at that moment, we feel guilt about it, but we shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't be.
Right.
It's okay for us to want more things and more time and more exploration by ourselves. So that's
Yes.
what is coming to mind.
Yes. If you're so this question I did steal from the Low Life podcast because it's too good to not steal. If your belly button was an actual button, what would it do?
Ooh, for me, it will be like opening a portal to beyond the beyond. Whew, that is like amazing. Like just opening that and you're in another dimension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And the final one is what's one thing in motherhood you'd like to say fuck it to?
Actually, what is coming to mind right now, it's kind of like it's something that I'm going through. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about this because my son is 17, so he's going through his own whatever nonsense that is because it's a period of confusion and all that. But
I'm not there yet. I can't speak to it.
oh my God. I feel like when the other parenting starts at teenage stage, parenting teenagers, I feel like parenting really starts there at the same time. So one thing like the whole whether it's the ignorance and not wanting to do things, but as a mother wanting to be engaged and wanting to kind of like say this is do things, it's kind of like it's another baggage that is also not on you because that's the moment where the children would say, I don't need your opinion, I don't care what you want, especially when you look at, and I believe a lot of people, especially when it comes to co-parenting, single mothers and all that, we go through the stage. This is like loaded. I don't even know where to start with it because these are the children that I was separated with, and my son has been like totally off, and I found out lately that he hasn't even been speaking to his father, whatever that happened between them. And on the other hand, he's being ignorant even about some of the things in his path. And it's kind of like I'm carrying this baggage where I'm trying to guide him to do something, but at the same time, because of the pain that he's processing and not wanting to do it the right way, as I'm like need asking for help and all that, there is a part of me that wants to help him do that. It's kind of like it's not mine to process. And here's the thing where I feel like I want to say fuck it to that, but at the same time, because I remember, like all this things that is happening is not like it's something that I was not made aware of, because it came to my awareness at some point where I was just told your son, and at that moment I felt like I'm being told that my son is late because I felt my heart drop to my feet, and then the message that came through, but don't ever stop loving him, and I was like, okay. And as a mother, the first thing that I wanted to do was work on that. I went back into my healer mode and wanted to clear all of that for him and all that. And the message that came, like immediately when I tried to do that, I checked out in the sense of like my mind blanked out. And I was told, this is not for you to do. It's his path. He has to make some choices and decisions. And that will determine whatever path he's going to take from the choices and decisions that he's making. But I found myself still being pulled in, like I want to do something for that, but it's beyond me. So fuck it to is more like fuck it to wanting to interfere with my children's path. But on the other hand, as humans, we also have that conditioning of wanting to control things that are not even beyond that. I think like this is bigger and it's bigger and it's all our problems, one or the other, just because of the humanity, the conditioning. We don't know how to look at our children and hold that space and that light and trust that things will work out the way they're meant to work out. Because at times they're going to go into darkness. That's where they're going to get that wisdom from. But it's hard as a parent to watch your children making choices that are coming from fear that this will destroy them or whatever. So it's loaded.
Right. Yes. No, I understand. And it's almost like we want to, like when I go through that with my own children, it's like I want to prevent them from experiencing the pain and suffering and hardship that I had to go through in order to learn the lessons. It's like, oh, I see exactly what this is. I see exactly what you're going through and what needs to happen in order for you to get to the other side. Let me just give you the answer to the test so you can just get past this stage. But that's not our job.
No.
That's not our role. Our job and our role is to, as you said, hold space for them. And it's to be there for them when they are flat on their ass and they need help getting back up. But we have to let them get on their ass first.
Because that's when they will be willing to listen and take whatever that you get to share. But otherwise, it's kind of like we're going to be pushing them away with whatever wisdom that we think we have. And
exactly.
Adding into that, no matter how much of a healer you are, no matter how much of a coach, whatever therapist, whatever you call yourself, you may have helped other people, but there's a reason why your children chose you, but it's not for you to help them in this level that you're helping other people.
I know. And it's a little bit maddening sometimes. Like it's a little bit crazy making because it's like, why do I have these gifts that can help other people, but I can't help my kids? I want to help them the most. But we have to let go. They're on their own journey and it is maddening to like see the cycle play out again, but there's also not a problem with the cycle. So like that crazy making feeling comes from me resisting the cycle of just, and the process of just life and thinking that there's a problem with it and that I shouldn't have had to suffer and go through whatever I had to go through and that my kids shouldn't have to do that either. Yes, we should. And we know that we should because that's exactly what our reality was.
That's what we came here for.
Yes. Yeah. Good grief. I love you so much. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. It was so wonderful. Tell people where they can connect with you.
I'm available in all social media platforms. Gao Motsemme, GaoMotsemme. You can go to my website, gaomostsemme.com. And actually, I'm gifting you a 45 minutes intro into my work. And the link, I'll share the link with you. I'll send you the link. And it's also
perfect. I'll put it in the description.
If you want to know what is going on, what is stopping or interfering with your success and freedom, jump on the call and let's see. And what you do with it, it's up to you. I always say I share with you what is coming through, and you get to do whatever that you get to do with it. And especially as you're talking about mothers, often our children reflect to us our disconnection from our own inner children. So the moment you sort that out, then all this stops playing out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much. Are you living your one wild life to the fullest? You're not? Why the fuck not? What are you waiting for? The time to live is now, mama. Do not wait until your youngest is in college. Let your dreams hire me for an hour so I can explain how I can help you achieve any goal in your life. You've put yourself off long enough. It's time to pour into you. The link to schedule your 60-minute complimentary consultation is in my show notes. Join the community of Fuck It Moms by following me on Instagram and Facebook at Fuck It Mothering. That's fuck without the U. So FCK It Mothering. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss your weekly encouragement. And please rate, review, comment, and share. All of these things help with the algorithms, so that way when other overwhelmed moms are looking for encouragement, they can find me. Every month, I give away one of my favorite books and a Starbucks card to a lucky winner. All you have to do to enter is write a review or tag me in social media when you share an episode. See you next Sunday, gorgeous.